Hey, welcome to the Positivity in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I am a fellow mother of 4. I have 4 kids, 10 and under right now, and I am learning motherhood and how to deal with some of the things that come with it as well. And that is why I am here. I just have a passion to share what I learn. This is kind of my creative outlet in motherhood. I'm a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, and I feel like sometimes we tend to lose ourselves in service of our kids and our husbands, which isn't bad, but it's also good to have something creative that you like to do. And this is something creative that I like to do. Think of something creative that you like to do and try and do it this week. I feel like we need to foster more creativity in our life. That is totally not what today's topic is about. But apparently it's been on my mind and I felt to share that with you. So get a little creative, and now we will jump into the actual topic of today's episode. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Thanks for joining. All right, today I wanted to talk about something that comes to mind every time I go to the grocery store, and almost every time my husband goes to the grocery store. The other day he came home from the store. He had done an errand for me that I had asked him to do after work, which was to grab milk and bananas. 3 gallons of milk and 2 bunches of bananas cost $20. That felt like such a lot for just 3 gallons of milk and 2 bunches of bananas. And if you're like me, it can be very easy to stress about money and the finances and the rising cost of things that is just kind of outrageous lately and very difficult to deal with. I have to work through mindset money issues all the time. I tend to be a little bit more on the saving and frugal side, and sometimes when I get that way, I can get very stressed about money and about having to deal with these rising costs. And it can feel very heavy, and it can feel like a lot. And when I am feeling stressed and heavy about money, I am not acting in the way that I want to act or that I desire to be. I'm not being the person who I want to be for my family, for my kids, and for my husband. And so I am trying some of these tips myself to work through these issues when I am feeling a little bit heavy and worried and concerned about money. So the first tip that I am trying to do is to de-stress. One of the best ways to de-stress when it comes to feeling stress is to exercise, like physically move your body to get that stress out. There is power in exercise, as it can and does relieve some of that negative emotion. It is a great way to work it out, and to not only just to work it out, but to strengthen your body. Go for a walk, take a jog or a bike ride, do a free video on YouTube, or make up your own exercises through dancing or yoga or Pilates, but do some type of movement to help you de-stress. I have to get better at this. I do not have a regular time to exercise right now, and I have kind of been neglecting it and counting just my day-to-day doings as enough, but it's not quite enough. I need to do some either strengthening or Pilates, something to help me through, and even just walking. Take your kids for a walk. Walking doesn't cost anything, even if you have to walk in place in your apartment or your house. I've had seasons where I either, the weather didn't permit to go outside, or it was too hot or too cold, and so I would just kind of walk in place in my room as I listened to music or a podcast. Do some type of physical activity to help you de-stress. My second tip is to get creative. So if they're like, I know we've had points where you just don't have the money. It's just, you've got to get creative in taking care of your family. And for me, that has kind of come down to using a little bit more rice than I usually do, and also making more homemade breads. Bread itself has risen considerably, and it is much cheaper to buy these items in bulk and then use them to make your bread. And so I have been making more bread. Instead of looking at it as drudgery or like, I hate this that I have to make bread, I have chosen to get a little creative with it. And that's what I want you to encourage. So I guess there is a little bit of creativity in this episode, but get creative with some type of baking. I chose sourdough, and it actually has been a blast to learn how to make an artesian loaf of sourdough and put the little scores in it to make like pretty wheat fronds or flowers, or I'm trying to think what else I've done. Stars. There's been a lot of fun had for me in making the sourdough and doing the little art on top of it. Start wherever comes to mind when it comes to making cooking and baking a little bit more fun and exciting. And sourdough actually is healthier as well, so that's been a plus with that. So maybe you really just don't like baking. You don't want to heat your house up. It's just not something you've ever enjoyed. Get creative with other ways to make money as a stay-at-home mom. Maybe you could sell some stuff. Do you have some extra furniture you don't need? Maybe through getting creative, you can create your own art or your own items that you want to sell. Sell some of those things that you can creatively use. Maybe you can offer cleaning services or babysitting services, or maybe even start teaching online classes. But find some extra ways to help you bring in some of that money. I know for me that has been really freeing, is to find some ways to make money that I can do with my children. One of them has been candles. If you haven't heard, I have been hand pouring wax melts and candles and making room sprays. And that has been good for me in a lot of ways. It has stretched me, but also has allowed me to have a small income when I am doing good at making some of the sales. It's really been hard because I don't make regular sales, but when I do make sales, it is exciting. But get creative when it comes to bringing in some extra money. Instead of feeling like you're stuck where you're at with the income level that you have, get creative in different ways that maybe you could possibly bring in money. And I mentioned this, well, I haven't mentioned this, but I talked about baking to save money, but you could also use baking to make money. My kids used to sell cookies, and I've been told a few times I probably should try and sell my sourdough loaves, but where I've got the candle business, I don't want to just overwhelm myself, because I also do this podcast and I try and make money through my online course, which is a pregnancy course. And if you're interested in that, listen to my Tuesday episodes. Anyways, those are my first two tips. My last tip is do your best to keep your mind off of it. I've read a lot of books and heard a lot of podcasts that sometimes we attract that which we think about most. So if we are worried about money, we are going to keep attracting that. Keep your mind off of it the best that you can. I know that sometimes this can be hard because we have people to care for and we have mouths to feed, and it can be very difficult when you are worried about how you are going to do it. But I know, and I feel pretty strongly, just because I've seen evidence of it in my life. I've seen evidence of it when I was losing weight. The more I thought about losing weight, the harder it was. The better I got at keeping my mind off of it and just like doing my best when it came to mealtime, it made such a difference. I'm trying to work through that with a little bit of a health issue I have right now. On my mind all the time is this health issue, but I don't want to deal with this health issue forever. I would like it to go away, and I would like to figure out ways to solve it. And so I'm doing my best to not think about it, or that's came to mind recently, is that I just need to stop thinking about it. And I feel like the same can be true with money. Sometimes we need to just stop over worrying and having anxiety over it and try to work through it and solve our problems. And I call it the art of distraction, actually. Not only working through our problems, but distracting ourselves so that we don't unnecessarily dwell on it. I do this through reading books, through being and playing with my children, through serving other people, actually, is a good way to get our mind off of our problems. And just, I don't know, thinking about different things. Play a musical instrument. There is something that is coming to your mind right now that can help you to get your mind off of this stress and this worry. We all have stresses and worries that we are working through. I've shared a couple of them in this episode with you, and I have not overcome them. I am still working through them. But I feel like as I implement some of these things, I know they help, and they can help you too. If you find that these episodes help you, I encourage you to share them with one of your fellow moms. Tell them about this podcast. But most of all, I appreciate you implementing what you learn into your own life to find more positivity. Because as we mothers become more positive, more happy, and more just vibrant in life, it can affect families, which affects communities, which affects societies, which affects nations. It is so amazing, and I know that you can do some of these small things to help you work through your worry with the rising costs of food and fuel. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be, through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.